The name of this program is Darrow, 100 Years Later. It is a program about a remarkable man named Clarence Darrow, who was born 100 years ago. This program comes from Chicago because that is where Darrow lived and worked and where the world learned his name. Chicago is where he died 19 years ago. If you don't know who Clarence Darrow was, you will find out in the next few minutes. If you do know who he was, you will learn some things about him that you don't already know.
Clarence Darrow had an uncanny way of detecting phonies.
Clarence Darrow died on March 13th, 1938. But his dedication to freedom of thought will live on to inspire others to hold the torch of freedom high, just as he had carried it on from the men of the past.
Darrow had an affinity for contradictions. He flew to them almost automatically in his discussions with others.
There was a lot of talk about Clarence Darrow in Chicago today. The occasion was the celebration of the Clarence Darrow Centenary, a party held in Darrow's honor to commemorate the 100th anniversary of his birth. He was born on April 18th, 1857, in a white frame house at Farmdale, Ohio, and raised by his father, Amorous, at Kinsman, Ohio. He is remembered at Kinsman as the boy who would argue against everything. As a man, he learned that it was better to argue against something, and preferably something bad, and he became the greatest defense lawyer that this country has ever seen. Who will not remember the defense counsel in the Loeb Leopold murder case, or the crippling cross-examiner of William Jennings Bryan at the Scopes anti-evolution trial in Tennessee, or the man who defended Eugene Debs, Big Bill Haywood? The greatest of them all, Clarence Seward Darrow. Lawyers can talk for hours about some of the lesser-known courtroom miracles performed by Clarence Darrow. And at one time, more than 100 men could say, Clarence Darrow saved me from the gallows. Any man this good in a courtroom could have been expected to be pretty good out of one, and Darrow was. He was a boisterous debater who would talk on any topic, a writer of books and pamphlets, a champion of unpopular causes, a man with hundreds of enemies and thousands of friends, all of whom remember him in surprising detail. In the 60 years of his law practice, from 1878 to 1938, Darrow thundered and shouted and laughed his way through an incredible life, and a lot of people are around today who remember it. And today in Chicago, at the Darrow celebration, the Adult Education Council brought together some who knew Darrow and some who didn't. In paying their respects, some of the speakers touched on basic principles, Darrow principles, in a symposium on freedom under law, and they had this to say. Mrs. Edith Sampson, former member of the U.S. delegation.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?